Well, I've got a quorum. You have a quorum.
6, 7.
How many you need?
Half of
You just need the elected
13,
officials. That's what you need.
12
Yeah, all our
cities
stuff.
and a county.
Yeah, I did.
You're lucky, guys.
Oh, you need 7.
7.
So you have 7.
Okay.
3 on, 4.
What's happening?
You're
Council.
4, 5. I'm assuming he's
Yeah,
elected.
council.
5,
Yeah.
6, 7.
Okay, there you go.
Good.
Are you elected?
No.
No, yeah.
If we
I can
had to,
call,
yeah, we
one
can
of
call
our,
someone.
one of our council members is on standby.
And usually Ryan Burkowski comes.
Ryan's-
He's on.
Oh,
He's there. He's on.
So he just
Zoom.
moved on.
So we're good. So this should be short and sweet. Sounds really good.
Ready then? Sure. I mean, started too well.
Okay. Well, here, go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Carroll County Joint 911 Service Board. That's my
At 6:01. I was just looking at the time.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
A second?
Dan's
Yep, Dan, second. All right, everybody's had a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections, additions to that? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This time we will open the public hearing on the fiscal year budget 2023.
Really, the only budget sheet that matters for your guys' purposes is the first one. It's gonna be the one with the numbers on it. There's a couple maybe that are blank or have zeros. And we'll be looking at the surcharge fund revenue side first. So made sure that all the numbers fit on the page this time. So this budget is showing last year's actual budget, what we're projecting or estimating this year, and the budget that we'll be voting on today in the far right column for fiscal year end budget, June 30th of 2023. So on line 1, this is the beginning fund balance or estimated beginning fund balance. So anything that's in the 911 fund that we didn't spend out of the previous year's budget. And so in this current year, we're estimating we'll start the year with $278,933 in the fund. If we come down to line 4, sure. So then that becomes our beginning fund balance on line 4. We got the landline surcharge, which is wireline telephone surcharge. That is kind of steadily going down. So we're predicting that's going to decrease a little bit at 78,000. And then wireless tends to increase from one year to the next. And so we're estimating that in 2023, we'll see revenues in that line at 155,000. Some other smaller revenue items, a little bit of interest for the balance that we keep in our accounts. Miscellaneous refunds and reimbursements. That's been tracking about the same for a few years. So we've got the 33,000 plugged in there. And then radios and pager cost share. So roughly the amount that we take in from the departments when we buy radios and pagers, and they cover their 25%, and then that one fund covers 75%. So we always buy those items and then invoice the agencies that get the equipment. We flip the page over. We're looking at the expenditure side. And so the first figure in line 1 is the 35,000. This is the money that the comm center invoices to the 911 board for the stuff that I do to manage the databases, keep the equipment running. But basically, database management. That's the alley database, the CAD database, now the radio database. that we manage for that. Advertising and promotion is just what we have to spend for legal publications. Insurance has been tracking about the same at 2,500. Training expense, the 911 fund picks up a portion of the training for the dispatchers. There's also another training fund that we use out of the comm center's budget for that activity. 911 telephone expense. As far as we know, this is going to be remaining around. There is some movement on the FCC. I kind of reported that at the last meeting that there's this is basically wireline cost recovery, phone companies billing the 911 boards for transport of 911 calls, and that's been sunsetted for wireline or for wireless per the FCC. So the next few years, wireless won't be able to bill for that anymore. Most of them don't anyway. And the thought is that the FCC is probably going to regulate this out of existence. If I had a crystal ball, I would say that's on the likely side. And so we're just looking to see what's going to happen with that. But for the meantime, that's an expense we have to maintain in our budget. Sign expense is the expense for both the street marker signs and the county marker signs at the driveways, so the blue signs for the numbers and the ones in the corners. Those are, that cost is mainly, a few years ago, we replaced all the marker signs. So that's mainly when a sign is damaged or stolen. That's what that is used for. And then blue signs that go missing or are damaged or for new properties. And so we have a subcontractor that puts those up. Telephone equipment repair and maintenance, $2,000 in that line item. When we need it, radio equipment repair and maintenance. This, by and large, we use this for batteries, repairs to radios, repairs to pagers, things like that. That's at 8,000. Other equipment repair and maintenance at 40,000. This is where we pay for ongoing maintenance agreements. We got a couple to approve tonight, so that's the line item that gets used for that. So there's just lots of software and equipment maintenance agreements that come out of that line item. The consultant fees, we have Ray Freeman as a radio consultant. I don't know that there's going to be much work for him in this budget, but we did keep a little bit of money in there. So if we have something where we need to pull him in to help us with an issue, we've got a little bit of money to do that with. Communications tower and equipment line item, 113,680. This is the money budgeted for the Motorola maintenance agreement that we're going to start to owe next budget year. So the way that everything fell, we thought we were going to be paying that out of this current budget year, but the first payment won't be due till after July 1. That's when our official warranty period was in the fall, and so we actually reduced the estimate on the middle line. That was much higher, and we expect that we'll be making that payment then going forward, and that has a little bit of an escalator every year. So
so what about the 9,000? Why is it? Why did we get that break in there?
So in fiscal year end 2021,
okay,
we had that budgeted, and that was the 911 funds contingency fund on the radio project. So when we missed base station radios for the fire departments, we bought them out of that fund. When we had to do the BDA, what 911 was able to contribute was out of that line item. The network management terminal that we added to the project came out of that line item. So there was just things that, that we had that there is kind of, we knew we were going to have the maintenance coming up, but then we used it as a contingency fund. So
the 113,680, that's going to be
the first year
ongoing.
Yeah, there'll be
that amount.
Yeah, it'll go up a little bit every year. So yeah, but with that, so yes, it's a lot of money, but that's 24-hour service and maintenance that is annually coming out, sweeping the lines, updating the software, if any piece of equipment becomes obsolete and the Motorola doesn't service it anymore, they'll replace it with new. They keep the software up to date. They, dust
Okay,
off
so,
the equipment, all that.
we talked about that, and that was, we're looking at the system to be obsolete in 10 years. Is that,
Well, at the end of 10 years, it'll be the current version, whatever the state has at the current version.
but this will continue then?
That at the end of 10 years, Motorola would want to renegotiate that.
Oh,
So
sure.
we want our-
Yeah. Older equipment, they'll probably want more money to keep it current. Yeah. This old.
All right,
So.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So. It's,
No, thank you.
it's the sign of the times. It's kind of unavoidable. So, next,
If more counties add to it over 10 years though, will the cost come down?
this is for our sites, so I would say no. The state is trying to find,
That's the whole point.
the state is trying to find a mechanism for helping fund both local projects and maintenance into the future for local projects that have been built, but there's nothing that's ever come up that looks like anybody's gonna take action on it anytime soon.
So is the interoperability thing all done at this point?
The
Just bring me up
project
to
is,
speed.
yeah, the project is still open. We've got a few I's to dot and T's to cross on a few things that need to be finished up. But for all intents and purposes, all of the public safety entities have been transferred over to the new system. We've been fully operational in the new system since July of last year. So we've got about 6-7 months of our belt on using it. So vehicle and portable radios, we're at 20,000 in that line item. This is to buy replacement pagers, a radio here or there if that becomes necessary. Caution on that. PSAP telephone equipment. So we haven't had this line item normally used, but we're budgeting $50,000 in there for the replacement of the call processing equipment, the phone system that's used in the comm center. It's about 8 years old. It's at end of life, and we're in the process of gathering quotes for that right now. And then the line 28, the other equipment. So I left $5,000 in this. In the past, if we had a project, the last 2 years, we did some IT projects. So we did server replacement this current budget year. We did storage replacement for that system in the 2021 budget year. And so we have those were there. That kind of project type stuff got moved up to that telephone expense. So the total expenditures we're looking at is $323,300, leaving us with an ending fund balance of $226,933. So you'll see that that's less than the fund balance that we started with. That was kind of to be expected because we kind of squirreled money away in anticipation for stuff like that contingency fund for the radio project. And now we're moving on to other updating projects now that we have the radio project. It's kind of in the side view mirror. It's not quite in the rear view mirror yet. But that reserve is there for larger projects. So now the phone system will be the first larger project that we do. And then we'll see kind of where technology goes and what might come our way. I like to keep at least $100,000 sitting on the sidelines just for unknown expenses and that sort of stuff. So I think we're still sitting good on the reserve there. But any questions over the budget that I didn't already know? The following pages are mostly the legal publications. So.
Anybody else have anything, questions on the budget? All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing.
614.
All in favor? We need a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, if there isn't any other questions, then we'll have to take a motion to approve the budget, 2023 budget.
I'll make it.
All right, we have a first, we
Second.
have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. And
Burgos.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, move on to new business.
Okay.
Back to Jason.
Okay, so the first thing that we have here is extending the Geocom App contract. So Geocom is the software that we use in the comm center to display the 911 map. Its base map is GIS data. So in addition to displaying the location of 911 calls, we also use that for it's one of the maps that we can use to look at roads. We can get some various county GIS data off of it. Property lines and some other stuff like that. Address points for every address in the county, stuff like that. So, the current software that we use for this has reached end of life, and Geocom is no longer supporting it. They approached me and needed a solution for what we were going to do. So in the bylaws, we're able to agree to spend up to $10,000. So I went ahead and approved an extension of their contract for 2 years. And they're moving us to their new product, which is a hosted solution in the cloud. It's the first time we're doing anything in the cloud. I'm a little nervous about that, but we're going to look at a secondary internet connection in addition to the two that the county already has through FirstNet to help make us feel a little more comfortable about that. So it's dipping our toes into the water in that realm. But the 5-year contract, it is more than what we can approve without bringing it to the meeting. So we approved the first 2 years. We have years 3 through 5 here for your consideration today. It's the new software is built by the same company as what dispatchers are used to. It's a little more feature rich. I think we're going to be happy with it. So looking to ask the board to approve us going out for the remainder of the three additional years.
Is it, so
On
it's roughly 25,000 total?
So this contract, well, we've already signed for the first 2 years. And then yeah, it'd be the 44,
Is it,
82.
was it
annually.
4,400
Yeah,
before?
The other two, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I believe that's roughly what we were paying for the annual maintenance anyway, for the old product. So it's not, we're not getting a new big chunk to do a project, and then we're just basically continuing on the maintenance with another product that they're just kind of rolling us over to. So
Did we just approve that with the budget?
Is that a
I
line?
was just
in the
gonna ask,
budget?
is that a 20,
44.
is that a
This
22
is going to add
expenditure
on
or
to
23?
the-
these are expenditures that are due June 1 of 2023. So only one of these is
Okay.
budget expenditure. This would be authorizing myself to sign the contract for the 3 years. So normally they wanted me to get a 5-year contract approved or a 3-year or whatever. And I said, well, I can only, it was, we didn't have a meeting coming up, and so we approved the 2-year contract because that was within the bylaws to do that. And now we're asking to approve for the additional 5.
But in the budget, what line is that out of then?
That comes out of that as one of the expenses that we,
Service contract lines.
yeah.
I made
it's
it
Other equipment repair and maintenance, line
number 18.
18, yeah.
Okay,
is the line item that we used to pay that.
So we'll have roughly 4,500 a year coming out of that.
Yeah, which we already did.
Right, which we are
Oh.
already did.
As a matter of fact, I think this is slightly less than what we were paying before.
But if we're gaining.
Memory serves me right.
more, hopefully we're getting more bang for our buck.
Yeah, well, we were already paying that for the old product. right?
No, but I mean, product wise, we're getting for that money.
It seems to be a slicker, more user-friendly product that is better than what we're using.
Okay.
I would hope.
What were we paying per month? What kind of an increase is it?
I don't think it's an increase. I think it's a decrease. I think we were closer to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a decrease. It's hosted. It's not on our servers anymore. That also frees up some resources, hopefully. So
Well, I don't have any problem with the cloud. I think that's all right. I think it's a good thing.
I'm a little apprehensive when it comes to the emergency communication side, but it is for 911 call location. And, a lot of bad things would have to happen to lose it, I think. And it lets us dip our toe in the water on the cloud on something that's not, we dispatched a whole lot of calls in my career long before we had GPS location and cell phones. So, if we lost it, we could still do everything we need to do. It's just one of those enhancement features that, it's pretty much necessary today, but if we lost it, we can figure out a way to get it out then. So we'll see how it works out and go from there. But
So you need a motion to approve this contract?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion for that.
All right, we have a first, we have a second. We have a second. All those in favor of extending the contract? Aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to extending the IM responding contract.
Yep. So a similar conversation here. We've had I am responding for our responders now for must be about 5 years.
I will say probably.
And we recently added a feature through I am responding called two-tone detect. It allows voice pagers to go over the cell phone, the voice message to go over the cell phone for a page. Dean, before you get excited about why we put in a paging system with our new radio system, it's still, we have to agree when we do stuff like that with them that it is not mission critical grade. So they will not sign off on us moving our primary means of notification to their system, but it has been really a benefit to our responders to add this feature. It was relatively inexpensive for us to do. I think we paid a guy that set it up for us. I think all in all, it took us like $1,200 to do. And the benefit is that now if I'm down in the comm center, say, and I don't have cell phone service, but I can hit a Wi-Fi signal, I still get the notification. So this really helps out in some of those industrial areas. Puck Custom Enterprises, PCE down in Manning, a lot of Manning fire departments, daytime responders come from Puck Custom Enterprises. They have big, giant metal buildings filled with lots of steel, and everything in there is steel, and the signal doesn't penetrate their building real well. They're a little far south of town and that sort of thing. So they were actually the first fire department. They went on their own and did it. And I remember I was like, yeah, if you guys want to do it, have at it. And when we saw it, how good it was, we added that feature to the I am responding. So I think we've been really satisfied with I am responding as a whole. It's what gives app notifications to cell phones for calls. It's been useful for a secondary means of notification when we've had a radio issue or something take us down for a little while. What I'd like to see us do is approve this extension for 5 years.
I just want to add to that. I think it's great because we get the message, we know what the type of call is. So depending on where we're located, we're 15, 20 minutes out and it's an alarm call, we're not going to hurry there. It gives us opportunity to judge what the call is, because otherwise we just get an address that says motor vehicle accident. Well, does it involve one vehicle, is it multiple, so we have if we're just out of range.
Yeah. And every department has their own account, so they can manage their own members. They can track training on that application if they want to. They can mark their fire hydrants on there if they want to. There's a lot of features that are available to the departments, and it's really up to them to use it to the level that they want to use.
We can do our own messaging between department
Yes.
members, which is great, because if we want to put a message out to all of them on our department, the chief just sends it out, doesn't have to go through Jason and that, so
That's a
it's a very good service.
highly used feature.
No complaints with it, so.
And isn't that what we were paying before? The
Yeah,
44?
this is the
Yeah,
same, this is the same price.
that we've been paying.
This is the same price.
With that,
Make a motion to approve the contract.
all right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all right. All those in favor, signal by aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, all right. All right,
I left old business on here in case anybody had anything, but I.
does anybody have any old business to bring before the board? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a motion? Mark? Is there a second?
Yeah.
Yep, we got a second. All those in favor, signal aye.
Aye.
All right. Meeting adjourned. All right.
Okay. I need to sign in sheet. Gotta capture who's online,
I can do that.
but then we got a star who the elected officials are.
Okay.
And ask them. Is Ryan on city council?
I believe it is.
Ryan, are you on the city council? Are you elected?
No, I am not.
Okay, do we have to call someone?
Scott Michelson was on the phone. He said he answered with an I.
Is he still on?
No. If we need him, we can call him.
Tony, are you elected?
Yeah, I am.
First two, then.
And Ken.
That was Ken.
Ken, there's two.
It's two.
Oh, that's the general. That's one. So we
One
seven.
more, Steve. Steve.
So we either have to call Coon Rapids or Halver. Why is Manning not come to these anymore? Different mayor?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't come in
Never did.
3 years. I always put the, does not come.
We need him on the phone right now.
Yeah.
Or just say,
Yeah, well, it'll just be a matter of very quick, yeah,
Yeah, he just
yeah,
can be on the phone.
because we just approve agenda, yeah.
Who you call?
Cody Willenberg, CODI.
Got him on the phone then. Okay. All right, if that, we'll call the meeting to,
Hey, you're on speakerphone, just listen up for the budget here, thanks.
call the Carroll County Emergency Management Commission meeting to order. First item on the agenda, approval of the agenda for 23rd. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve.
Okay,
I'll
second. All right. All right, everybody's had a chance to read over the minutes from the January 26th meeting. Any corrections, additions to that? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion. A second? Second, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. All right, moving on. The 2022-23 budget. We'll open the public hearing at 6:28. Public hearing is open.
Okay, so it's just the 2 pages after the minutes, and the first page talks about the revenue. Nothing changed since this was presented at the January 26th meeting, and we had quite a few people there. The beginning fund balance right now is in that line 1 of the actual, so that's where the beginning goes in. So we started the budget with $47,680. The county contribution right across the top in 21 was 35,000. This year is proposed at 25,000, so 10,000 less. We always try to bring that fund balance down because we only want to be sitting around 50,000. The hazmat reimbursement has been the same. We went up to the $1.25, so now we're at the 31,224. EMPG has consistently been right at that 18,000. Last year was 18,130. Line 7 shows an additional $11,812. That was supplemental due to the pandemic. It helped cover some of the additional hours that were put in that each county was doing. So total revenue, line 31 is the same, 55,000, but we're back to this 49,000, so a little bit less because we don't need that much. The salary went up by 5%. That's what the county approved. All the other line items remain the same. Coming over here, education and training should be back up. It was down just due to COVID, so nobody met. Everything was on Zoom, everything was online. There really was no travel, so I bumped that back up, especially if we have to do exercise again. Just everything was put on hold, but we do have 2 exercises scheduled for this coming up. Line 44 is the hazmat budget. The equipment insurance is to insure the Tahoe and the trailer. We are members to the Iowa Emergency Management Association. So the total budget expenditures is $77,736, which is slightly higher than last year. So, but the overall budget, right around the same. So really no changes. And the county contribution goes down by $10,000. So Dean should be happy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we got to close the public
Oh,
hearing.
close first. We have to close the public hearing. Have a motion for that. Motion. Okay, second. Got it. All right. Now, all those in favor of approving the budget?
Aye.
Get all that, Sarah?
Yeah, I got it.
Just write something
If
down.
not, it's on YouTube. She can go later.
Write it
Okay,
Okay.
on with new business.
Okay, new business is just every year we have to identify who that mayor is.
Cody, go on.
We can be done.
Oh, yeah,
Cody. All right. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Cody.
All right, bye.
4 minutes at a time. We just have to identify each town. So I'll send the email out to the city clerks and I identify who each town has as their number 1 person. So, and then who they are deeming can go to the meetings. Like they're saying, hey, Andy, you go to that. But in the event we need a vote, which is once a year, it has to be the elected official. So I will email the clerks because I told Jason, I said, when I type up the minutes, I always put who doesn't come. And Manning hasn't been here for a while. So we'll just reach out, maybe just a different mayor, Ralston, Willie, we used to have participation from some of those, but just since COVID, we've kind of had our same group. So with EMPG, that is our federal grant that it pays the $18,000 every year for this. They love policies and they love all that fun stuff. So we had to update our bylaws and then we had to come up with the procurement policy and procedure, which we review every year. It was that I could spend up to $10,000 without approval, but then if we spend more than that, it has to be approved. When we did COVID, we did spend a lot of money, but everything was through the county. So we did not run anything through the emergency management budget, which was just a lot cleaner because the county got the money back. So Dean and I and Courtney worked through that initially because it was going to be really messy to budget amend, emergency management. And then as time went on and more supplies came in, then the state just started giving it to us. I was just the pass-through point for dropping off and dispensing everything and keeping track of where everything went. But Carrie Kersey and I did all of that. So we created this in 2017. We just have to sign off on it every year that we have a procurement policy that just says we have to, everything that I was doing, we got at least 2 quotes, if not 3, that when we were looking at everything. The two new policies are the capital asset inventory policy. So we just have to keep track of anything that has a value of over $5,000. If we dispose of it, we have to dispose of something in accordance with the Carroll County disposal policy. When we had the hazmat trailer, that ended up going to the city of Templeton, and then the city of Templeton ended up donating it a second time. We had owned that for over 10 years. After that was a grant from the federal government. And after 10 years, the recipient of it then takes ownership of it. So you don't have to go back to the federal government and be like, how do you want me to dispose of the hazmat trailer? So it came to us, and then we transferred the title to the city of Templeton, and then the city of Templeton was able to pass it off to someone else. So this just says that after I have that, which is just me, the Tahoe and the trailer, because all of the, at one point, one box of N95 masks were almost $2,500 a box. We have all that stuff in the basement, but that is all asset of the state of Iowa. So we have ongoing inventory of that. It's in a secured location. And if anybody gets those capital resources, I just have to keep track of where those went. So, but if anything is missing, it says I have to file a sheriff's report, and Pingree has to investigate where it went. So
Well, that won't get happening.
we'll have to sign that tonight, or we'll have
Brandon
to.
Cooner happens to see it.
We've already adopted the procurement policy. We have to adopt the capital assessment inventory policy. So we'll have to make a motion for these two. And then the second one was the guidance on determining allowable costs. And as we were visiting initially, I said, you know, they come up with these because it happened. It happened somewhere that someone used federal expenses to pay for a ceremonial cost, either a funeral or a wedding or something, or bought alcoholic beverages or did something they're not supposed to. So we have to formally adopt this and sign off that we understand that federal funding cannot be used for any of the 19 items listed that are not, that are no-nos. So anyway, we can do a motion together that we're adopting the two new policies, and then we'll have you sign them.
Okay. With that, does anybody have any questions on that?
Do you guys get audited by the state?
Mhm. Not every year. My stuff is in there, and I'll pull out one or two expenses to compare. But the EMPG, they audit every 5 years. So
Any other questions? I would entertain a motion to pass those two resolutions. Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All those in favor of two?
Aye.
Signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried.
so we are going to have Jason come to the next coalition meeting to go over radios with us, and we're going to use that as tabletop exercise. And then there's also going to be a second statewide tabletop exercise that they're coordinating for Wednesday, May 18th. And it's going to be a flood scenario focused on the core capabilities of mass care, public information, warning, and operational coordination. The last one that we did statewide was a winter storm, and it was weird because it was like, oh, why are we doing this again? It had been 10 years since the ice storm. So you think that we, you know, experienced it or talked about it. It's just like, wow, that was already 10 years ago. So we had, it's just to refresh. I know Brad loves it when we get flooding in the city of Carroll, and we haven't had anything too bad, but they also say weather goes in 10-year patterns. So I don't know. We're in our dry 10 years. So if we switch
We're
over
out of
to
that
that.
pattern. It's all
So-
going south.
Yes.
So on the May 18th tabletop exercise, what will that include and what is?
So just because everybody has been completely inundated with COVID, and then we still have to do the exercises, the state's like, hey, we'll do a statewide one. So then there's an exercise coordinator, and he's going to send it out. I just signed up for it last week saying Carroll County wants in, because public health, myself, and the hospitals, we have to participate in 3 per year. So I'll just wait for more details and then send it out. So they usually will go over communication. Like they said, mass care, how public information warning, getting out the messages. Maybe it'd be something like the floods of 93, which I hope we never, ever, ever experience that again, but that's just a lot of displaced people and
Yeah, we're in a pretty dry cycle.
yes, yes, we are. So we'll have more drought meetings probably than flood meetings coming up, so on water conservation and all that stuff, so. Coalition monthly and quarterly meetings. We just had a Board of Health Board Supervisor meeting yesterday. There is a coalition meeting coming up again in March. Just waiting to see the direction everything goes with public health, and we're working on spending our money. If there is not, Jamie Whitworth couldn't be here tonight. We've been including him in that meeting, and I told Dean yesterday, if we can't get all the coalition money spent, Jamie's got some ideas with the ambulance. So just so that we don't leave money on the table.
Yep.
So,
Can't do that.
yep.
Yeah, that's use it or lose it money, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It
I
all
think
comes
we lost
flooding
some.
back.
Yeah, 20,000.
I did have one announcement that
For the
I
maintenance of
didn't
the
cover in
payroll
my
roll.
meeting. If the chair says so. okay,
Go right
time to
ahead,
mention
sir.
it. So,
It's all burdened.
tentatively, the week of April 18th, the county fire meeting is on Monday that week. I'm working with Department of Public Safety to get their mobile command vehicle brought to the county. Inside, it's a big straight truck type piece of apparatus. Inside of it, it's got a meeting room and all sorts of stuff. It is its own ISIX tower site. So it's got a mobile tower that can be put up and it acts as its own ISIX tower site. It also has 2 ISIX dispatch console positions and 2 call taking positions inside of the mobile command vehicle in some very tight quarters. But I'm trying to coordinate kind of a week's worth of training with this vehicle, get them to bring it here on Monday. We'll have it for demonstration purposes at the county fire meeting that Monday evening.
Which city's that in?
I believe it's in Litterdale.
Yes, because they were, Lanesboro hosted the last one, but they hosted in Litterdale, so now it'll be Litterdale.
So it'll probably be in Litterdale. So a couple things that why I'm bringing it to the county is to do training with our dispatchers. So because it's got an ISIX radio console on it, we can actually put our configuration for our consoles on a thumb drive, walk out to the vehicle, put that into the consoles that are in the vehicle, load the configuration, and the screen and all the resources will look just like the dispatchers are used to. So we want to do a training with that. We want to bring in our mobile CAD, our backup Alamo CAD server, and laptops into the vehicle, practice setting them up, have the dispatchers familiar with the vehicle, have them familiar with setting up the mobile, the backup CAD system, and that sort of thing. And it really is, I think after we do this training, we're probably going to put this in our backup plans for if we ever have to evacuate the comm center. That vehicle gets brought here and whatever the drive time is for somebody in Des Moines to get to the vehicle and drive it here. And then it gets set up. I think we can be operational in a few hours with a really large portion of our dispatch capabilities. If something were ever happen and we had to leave the comm center, probably flood it.
Well, our concern was always railroad
It could be a railroad thing. It could
derailment
be,
that,
it could be,
took out the
you
courthouse.
know, it could be something that makes the courthouse uninhabitable for whatever reason, a hazmat thing, or who knows?
Is that truck bigger than, would you say hazmat's truck?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I bet it costs less. So,
I would bet it's similar, I would just guess it's similar.
so,
I bet it is.
in addition, so we want to do a demonstration for the fire department. We want to make it available for law enforcement in the county to tour the vehicle and see what its capabilities are.
but if you have it for a week, it'll be in Lauderdale that night. then
It'll be
come here.
Lauderdale Monday night. We'll bring it to Carroll on Tuesday, figure out a place to set it up. Haven't decided where that might be at. And then we're going to work on, you know, loading the configurations and make sure it all works. And then probably do training with the dispatchers on Wednesday or Wednesday and Thursday, and they'll probably leave the county on Thursday. So that's the tentative schedule.
All contingent on weather if they're not using this.
Yeah, you know, if it gets deployed, then the whole thing is canceled.
I'm assuming it is self-contained, so it has its own generating capacity.
Own generator.
But can it be also shoreline if you've got a place to put it? Or do they want to run it off there?
I don't know the answer to that. Normally they set it up and just run the generator. Okay, that's what they prefer to do.
So is that, you know, I was in one of those telephone conference meeting one time. And they were talking about how they were down at Pacific Junction and during the flood
Okay.
down there. And they could plug right into their telephone system down there. Can they do something like that? And then
It doesn't have that capability. What it has in it is it has basically the same stuff that if we decide to go shared services, our 911 system, which we'll get in the quotes for, it would have the exact same call taking soft phones on a computer for the headset, and through a broadband connection, it has a secure connection back to the servers for that shared services telephone system. So it would not do landline or administrative lines. It would only be for the receipt of 911 calls. So we would probably back up landlines with maybe a couple of cell phones for calls from the public that are non-emergent. And we'd have to advertise what those numbers were at the time of the event and get the word out via social media and traditional media and stuff like that. So they don't have that capability. It's the state's assets. We take it with
so did
whatever.
you guys
however
ever
it
get the
comes.
hazmat truck down here at all? You guys
Yes,
ever
we had
seen
it last July down in Woodland. County
Okay,
meeting.
so everybody got to see
Yeah,
it.
everybody everybody in the county had an opportunity to come and see it. That right.
Pretty, is it good enough?
Oh, yeah, it's very, well, I'm not gonna go there because I know.
I thought the old one was good enough.
Mhm. No, that end of life, end of
Well, it
life.
has-
It looked like
The whole
an
thing
like
is-
when it was in Breda that day.
It's a good, it's obviously very nice piece of
Yeah.
equipment, and it didn't cost us any more. That's
Yeah.
per county. Yeah, so
Yeah, and that,
we held the line on
Mhm. Hopefully they
it's one of those.
use it for 20 years.
It's like a lot of things with the fire service. It's nice to have it and hopefully never use it, but when you need it, you need it. And that's, it's the cost of doing business.
Okay.
Is there anything else to come before this board? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We
So
have a
moved.
motion- So moved by Mark. A second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
it.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:47.
Okay.
Bring this down.